Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to the first broadcast of Bounce TV. My name is Tracy Williams. I'm your host, and I'm also the global ambassador for the Charity Bounce organization. And I'm here today with a very, very special guest and friend of mine, Coach Brian Rowson, former NBA player, current coach, entrepreneur, all around Renaissance guy. Welcome, Brian, man. Listen, hey, like I said, forgive me, my tech skills ain't on up to par, but hey, this is gonna help me grow and get better. But man, you know, I ain't got nothing but love for you, man. Appreciate you coming on, sharing with us today. You always been a star for me. And I know doing this interview, especially after when people get a chance to hear your story and hear what you're doing and how you approach what you do, I'm sure you're gonna be a star with them too. But again, welcome, man. You number one. You the first round pick, B. B, you number one pick right here.
Well, I have to say I'm honored to be the very first guest for you guys' new podcast. So I appreciate that. Thank you for those kind words too.
Definitely, B, man. I mean, like I said, you earn it. The Bible says, give me an honor what honor is due. And it's always easy. I ain't got to make up none of that. I undersold you, I think. Listen, man, like real quick, like I told you, and on pre-production, I want to talk less. Just want to get, if we could just start like with your story. I mean, me and you kind of grew up in North Carolina. We're kind of close together in North Carolina. Went to school in the North Carolina area. You were a better basketball player than me, and you went on, and your trajectory kept going up, up, up. Hey, just give us real quick, man. Just a story. I mean, hey, young kid growing up, Columbia, North Carolina, man. Just tell me what got you started in the game, what made you love it, and what kept you focused.
Well, Tracy, just like you said, we both grew up in North Carolina, a basketball state. And as a kid growing up, when we did in the 70s, that's what was on TV. You played what you saw on TV. If it was basketball season, we played basketball. If it was football, we played football. But of course, basketball is king in the Carolinas. You grew up in ACC country, so you can't help but watch it and dream about possibly being in those arenas one day. And that basically was me. Growing up in a small town, it wasn't a lot to do, so you went outside and played basketball or sports.
Definitely. And Brian, that's a lost art now. Man, remember when your parents just told you, go outside, don't come back in here until the street lights come on. Right. And if you want some water, get it out of the water hose. So you and your friend, and I mean, they didn't send you out with an iPad. They didn't send you out with no technology. They kind of forced us to use our imagination to create something that occupied us. And I think that's lost on this generation. I think they missed a lot. I mean, you, this young kid out there, playing basketball and everything. When was the first time that you realized that you loved it? Like you said, hey, this is something nobody has to tell me to play it. I'm just want to do it.
Well, I can't remember exactly the first time, T, but my first sport love was football. But I played all three, football, basketball, baseball, because that's all we had in our hometown. But as I got older and grew taller, my body was built for basketball. I was tall and skinny, short, just like you were. Yep. So that kind of, told you that, okay, I better focus a little bit more basketball than football because my body is built that way. And so then I started to concentrate more on basketball. But from an early age, no one ever had to tell me to go outside and play because that's what we did at that time. And you wanted to be outside playing with your friends who were playing sports, whatever that sport might have been. And so it was always a love for me. It was never something that someone had to make me do. And I always say this to my friends now, T, back from North Carolina now, I was like, when we were young kids, did we ever get tired of playing? I don't ever remember any of us ever saying, hey, I'm too tired to play today. We just did it every day because it was an honor for us to go outside and play, in those days.
Definitely, man. I got grandkids now, B, and I tell them, I say, go outside. Papa, could you charge my pad up? I'm like, yo, just go outside, play, develop yourself, but it's different, man, because their peers are even like that. So it's a bigger hurdle. It's another obstacle for them.
It is.
High school, Brian, now you're grown. I mean, were you 6'9", 6'10"? I know you're taller than me. And I remember starting to hear about you, this kid down there in high school. I mean, now you're starting to get interest. People are talking about you, people talking to you, probably starting to get recruited. Kind of take us, how did that feel? From, like I always tell people, you got that unknown time, that time when you just just by yourself and nobody's really checking for you right there. What was that like for you, going from an unknown kid that loves to play the game, loves to work hard on it, and now you're starting getting folks talking, there's a buzz now, and people starting to say, what was that like? And how did you not let that be a negative in your life, like a lot of kids when they first start getting attention, but to make you, what was that process like? What was that process like? And what were some of the mental things that you used to stay locked in and stay focused?
Well, growing up in Eastern North Carolina, like we both did, there were two players that were a little bit older than us that were playing in college, that went to college, whom I kind of used as motivation when I saw them playing in college. The first one was Cedric Maxwell.
Cornbread.
Eastern North Carolina in 77. He went to UNC Charlotte, took them all the way to the Final Four, Tracy, as you know. And then another one was Dominique Wilkins, who came a little bit later in Washington, North Carolina. Those names were names that we heard growing up all the time. Hey, man, did you hear about what Dominique did? Hey, did you see Cedric Maxwell take UNC Charlotte to the Final Four? So them coming from Eastern North Carolina gave me the motivation and hope that maybe if they did it, I could do it. So that's what drove me to be a kid that was growing up that wanted to play, obviously, and dream big, but also gave me that work ethic as well, because I figured I had to work extra hard coming from a small town, in order to be noticed. And then I remember getting my first letter from UNC Wilmington. I think it was towards the end of my junior year in high school. And when I got that letter, it made me realize then that colleges were taking notice a little bit of me. And that drove me even more to have more motivation and develop my work ethic as far as trying to get to college.
Well, B, tell me about them doubt days. Them days when you out there in that hot sun, heat beating down on you, man. Because we didn't always get a chance to get in the gymnasium. You out there on the asphalt, man, the concrete.
Yep.
Yeah, and you working on your game, man. And then those doubts come in, like, why are you out here wasting all of this time? I know you had them. How do you combat that? Because a lot of young kids now, they're like, I can't stay locked in. I start thinking, well, it's too long, because like you said, you got your first letter at your junior year. It was a lot of kids like the Dominiques and them. They were getting letters in the 9th grade,
yep.
And they were getting interest from colleges, universities early. How did you deal with those moments when you had those doubts and thinking, hey, maybe I won't make it to college. Maybe I won't. What was your mind process? What was your thought process about that?
I think, T, for me, I was just so naive that it helped me. And what I mean by that is I didn't understand exactly how tough it was to get into a college and to go to college. I didn't realize how tough it was to make it to the NBA. I just thought as a kid, if I can dream it, I can do it, as we always tell kids today, right?
Woo.
So it actually worked out in my favor that I thought that way, because T, if I would have known how hard it was when I was in high school, I probably would have done the same thing as a lot of kids and said, no, this is too big of a task. They're not going to recruit me. I'm from a small town. I probably would never make it. I would have probably said those same things. But the days that I did have doubt, T, I just kept pushing forward because I wanted my family to be proud of me at the bottom line. They wanted me to go to college. So I was going to go to college, whether it was on a scholarship or not for athletics. But I did want to have them to be proud of me. And so that kept me, driven to my goal of going to college. And if it was on the athletic scholarship, then so be it. That was even better for them because now they wouldn't have to pay for me to go to school. But again, when I did have those doubtful days, T, I just stayed in prayer like you.
Right.
Your parents were religious. They kept us in the Bible. They kept us in church, Sunday school, and all those things. Yeah. So that kept me grounded. And whenever I had doubt, I just prayed, prayed about it. And it seemed like whenever I prayed, T, and believed, something good would happen. And that's what I just followed. That's basically it. And then once I got to college, then of course the same thing took place there. But I used Dominique Wilkins and Cedric Maxwell as my motivators. Coming from a small part of North Carolina. And then again, when I had that doubt, man, I just leaned on my family. They just kept believing in me, kept pushing me forward. And also, I saw other kids in my class that were going to college. And so that motivated me too, because I didn't want to get left behind, because I knew that if I stayed in a small town with nothing to do, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah. Brian, I love what you said about that naiveness. I say that to kids now in our program, and I'm like, hey, I didn't know that less than 1% of all athletes make it to the Division I level. And it probably, like you said, if I'd have known that literally would have made me say, oh, this is too big.
Yes.
And that's why I always tell them, get your mind right first. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. You gotta train your brain, train your mind to do it. Because I was thinking I didn't know that it was millions of kids around the world trying to get to Division I, where you got 10, maybe 12 positions on that team. And there's only so many Division I schools out there. And so we never did the math, but now they got telephones. Now, I tell them that phones and them videos can be a blessing and a curse.
That's right.
They can expose you to a lot of drills. Man, how much better would you have been if you had all of them drills in the palm of your hand?
Yeah, we didn't.
And all of these interviews and listening to the mental, like what you're doing now for us, giving us the mental on how to make it. That if you had all of that, but then here's the other side. You see so many of these edited videos of these guys never missing shots,
right.
Never missing dunks, never getting blown by,
yes,
never getting lit up like a Christmas tree on defense.
Yep.
They don't see none of that stuff, and they just thinking these guys are great. And me and you both know that's not true. Tell me a little bit of your take on that.
Well, I use that. Obviously, being a coach now, I have to deal with a lot of those same issues now. I don't like when players send me highlight videos because, again, it makes everybody look like they're LeBron James. Yep. They never miss a shot. They're always doing something great. And it's usually always something on the offensive end of the floor. And I'm always wondering, well, you don't just play offense in basketball. You got to play defense too, But so I like to see a regular full game video so I can see their flaws and deficiencies as well as the positive things that they do on the court. And then also, T, just going back to what you said earlier, the kids today, they have access to all kinds of workout videos and things that we never had growing up. When we got better growing up, it was basically because we were out there playing pickup ball.
That's it.
5-on-5 with other kids in our neighborhood. We didn't have personal trainers. We didn't know how to work out and do certain things like that. We just learned that on our own. Now, when I did get to college, the coaches there did show me how to do certain things, working out wise and different moves and things that you can do. But we never did it in high school because our coaches weren't trained for that, I don't know if yours were in high school, but mine certainly weren't, So when you got to JMU, I'm sure that's when you started to pick up on those things. You learned a little bit more then, But so I tell the kids today, look, like you just said too, the videos can be a blessing and a curse. Those videos are for certain players, but they're not for everybody. Right. Not everybody can do those videos. Not everybody should be doing them. Some of the kids need to be working on fundamental stuff and not worry about doing all the fancy stuff, And then again, also, I tell them to, focus a lot more on team stuff as well, because the individual drills are great and the individual trainers can be good sometimes, but at the same time, you still play basketball 5-on-5 at some point. And a lot of kids don't grow up playing pick 5-on-5 anymore, unfortunately. So you never get to apply those same drills that you're working on with an individual trainer sometimes. So that sets players back a little bit as well.
Definitely. Now, Brian, both of our universities, the same conference, everything. I mean, I played in that same conference. Again, you were a player of the year in that conference. And I mean, because you just kept going. I mean, you took off, man. I heard about you one day. They was like, yo, the Rousey kid, he nice. He got crazy nice footwork and everything, and that's something I'm always stressing to these kids now. I'm saying every good shot starts from the floor up. Look at your feet, watch what your foot. I said, whether it's driving the hole, back to the basket, facing the basket, you got to have a good base, good everything. That was the first thing people were saying about you. Like you was Tim Duncan, big fundamental said, he's going to fundamental you to death. He's going to get his buckets. He's going to get to his spots. He's going to, and you ain't going to stop it because he knows how to get to those spots. Tell me that process. How did you get to the place where you're coming into college, just freshman, kind of unknown, and then turn out to be one of the best players in the nation in college?
Okay. So growing up in high school, obviously we saw the college stars, the Larry Birds and Magic Johnsons, and I appreciated their games, but I knew that wasn't my game. I tried to watch those players that were similar to me in athleticism and ability. Again, like we go back to Cornbread Maxwell. He wasn't a great athlete, where he was just dunking over people and all that stuff, but he had good fundamentals down low in the low post and so forth. And I was the same way. I was a tall, skinny kid, not very athletic. So I couldn't just dunk over people and run the floor and do all those things that a lot of athletic players do today. So I had to look at footwork. And there were two guys that I always admired with the footwork, and that was Kevin McHale and Akeem Olajuwon. So when I saw them catch the ball in the low post, I said, wow, I want to be able to do those things that they're doing. Even though they were still a little bit better athletes than I was, I knew that if I could get the fundamentals down, like you say, Tracy, with the footwork, then I had a chance to do something as far as being a better player. And I stressed the same thing to my players today. In fact, this morning at practice, I did the same thing. We did some footwork drills. And I'm always telling the players, don't just shoot the jump shot, work on your footwork as you're doing it so you can get open and know how to use screens and things like that. Because when you're not athletic like I was, you have to know how to do all those small things. And if you can do those small things, there's always a place in the game today for players that have good fundamentals. And that's why Steph Curry is so good. He's not the strongest guard. He's not the most athletic guard, but boy, he knows how to come off those screens. He knows how to create space to get his jump shot open, things like that. And, and so I stressed that today as a coach, and I did it as a player during my days, and that really helped me at UNC Wilmington.
Definitely. Now, Brian, I know you've coached championship teams around the world. You won chips, you've done that stuff. So you not only understand as an individual how to play this game, but you also know how the team should be operate as a whole. And you know how you've proven that you know how to get folks together to become a championship caliber organization, championship caliber team. And we know one of the main components of having a championship team is understanding your roles, because everybody on a championship team has a role, and all of those roles are just as important. Because some people think, okay, if I'm not scoring 50 every night or got all of this stuff, I'm nobody. My contribution is nothing. It means nothing. But you know better than that, and I do too. So you were, you the big fish in your pond. You that guy that everybody say, look, man, you got to stop Brian Rousey. If you don't stop him, you don't have a chance of beating his team. You know, one of the other things, you were a good passer. You could see out of the post when guys would try to double you and do these different things. In the very beginning, I knew you had all of the things that could make a good coach. Now you're shifting from college university being one of the guys in the country to now you're going to the highest level ever. Just the NBA, man. You know, I get teary-eyed just thinking about it. Now you're at the top level. You on the court, Michael Jordan in his prime, Patrick Ewing in his prime, Hakeem Olajuwon in his prime. You played against the pantheon greatest players for all time that's ever going to be. Tell me, how did you find your way in there? How did you find a way to contribute? How did you find a way and not be so overwhelmed?
Well, it took me a while I'll be honest with you, because I was such a fan of the game and a student of the game, like you were growing up. You know, we didn't only watch the games as for entertainment, but we studied the game and studied players. And I can remember my roommate in college, we were always talking about certain players and their style of play, their games, you know, Dominique Wilkins or Jordan or Olajuwon or Kareem or whoever it was. And so coming into the NBA, I knew a lot about all those players. And in fact, I think it hurt me because I knew so much about them that I put them on a pedestal, especially my rookie year. You know what I mean? I'm out there thinking, man, this is Karl Malone. You know, this is Charles Barkley, you know, and this is Magic Johnson. Hey, man, Isaiah Thomas said hello to me today in the shoot around. I'm thinking like that instead of saying, they're just like me. We're at the same level now. No matter what they've done, no matter where we're from, we're all in the NBA at the same time. I should have had that mentality, that attitude. If I had that mentality, I would have stayed in the league a lot longer. But I gave a lot of those guys too much respect on a nightly basis. There were times when I felt comfortable and more confident, but there were too many nights where I didn't feel that confidence, like I did in college, at least anyway. And so therefore, it really hurt me as far as my pro career is concerned. So I wish, like you said earlier, we could go back in time and replay some of those moments, knowing what we know now. I guess we've all said that as a time or two in our lives. But, I really feel like because I did know so much about the game and the players growing up, it kind of hurt me when I got to that level.
Yeah. You know what we say now, and I know you do it. Hey, respect everybody, fear nobody.
That's right.
That's right. You go out there and you play your game. You there too. You did something to get there. You did something too to get there. And that, that's the thing. And coach, I always tell kids, my career is over. It won't be no George Foreman runs at the league at 57. Yeah. But I do get a chance to do it again because I get a chance to impact the lives of these young kids. And I can live on one level vicariously through them. And that, because all of the things I spend more, I've had more knowledge gain on what not to do. You know, the things I did wrong in my career. And those are the things, and I know you the same way, Coach, that we spend so much time harping on and pushing. Absolutely. It's the stuff that we wish we would have known. We wish we could have got that because we would have been Hall of Famers, but we didn't know it. So when we're pushing you kids and we're getting up in your faces saying, hey, you just pay attention and do this stuff I'm telling you, it's not because we don't like you. We're not trying to pick on you. What we're trying to do, we're trying to push you forward into the greatness that you were born with. We want all of you to be able to do that. But you played in the league, and like I said, always watching you, man. Because like I said, we're in the same area. We all grew up in the same areas. It ain't no all-day ride to get to where you from where I'm from. And I don't know about you. I've always had a sense of pride about everybody that came from our area. You know, wasn't no player hater in me. I'm like, yo, my boy Brian Ross. I said, watch that inside pivot. Boy, he look like Jack Sigma. And he gonna hit that high off the window, and you ain't gonna be able to stop that. That's me watching you in my living room in the league. I'm watching you playing with the Hornets and stuff in Indiana, and I'm going, that's that dude right there. That's my homeboy. Now, with all of that said, man, I say the same things as you about a coach, and I want to kind of close out with on the coaching side, because even though you've impacted so many of us, your family and people who watch you grow as a player, as a young man, into a man, at this level where you at now, you get to touch tomorrow today, man. You get to really to change the world. You're not just developing young black basketball players of all races, creeds, and colors. You're getting able to develop some humans, some people that could really change the world, starting with the lessons that you teach. An awesome responsibility. Tell me what it's like now, what your journey has been like as a coach, from the beginning to where you are now, and anything your thoughts on that on that level, because now I think you impacting basketball now greater than you can as a player. I think, because I think you're limited in that, but now as a coach you can do it. So take it from there.
That's right, T. You touched on a lot of good points there, because I just told a few of my players the other day that, as a player, you focus on yourself. You're worried about being the best player that you can be. But as a coach, you're working and thinking about the group as a whole, how you can make the team better. And so you're thinking for all of those players that you have on your team, as opposed to being a player when you're just thinking about what you can do for yourself. And that in itself is tremendous for me, because I love the idea of putting the team together, seeing them come together as one, and then being successful. I always look at the team as a puzzle. It's like a 100-piece puzzle, for example. Every day you add another piece to that puzzle. You add another player to that piece of the puzzle. And then to see it all come together makes it worthwhile. You touched on another point earlier too, where I'm living vicariously through these young men again. It makes me younger, to take me back to my 20s again, reliving those days where we were playing at that age. Like today after practice, I heard a couple of players over there talking about certain things and laughing and joking, and it made me laugh, because it keeps me in the game with them, listening to them talk about certain things. It takes me back to those days when I was doing the same thing after practice with some of our teammates. You know how that was, T.
Yep.
So it keeps me young and invigorated, man. And then also, there's nothing like showing them something, then seeing them go out and do it, execute it, and then come back and you see that smile on their face like, yep, coach, you were right, And that's the best feeling in the world for me, man, to be able to give that back to these young men now today. Mm-hmm. And I tell them all the time, none of us are going to the Basketball Hall of Fame, but I might be working with one of you guys now as a basketball player, but you might turn out to be a great lawyer, a great doctor, just a great father. Any of those things are priceless to me as a coach now, to be able to say that I did that with one of those young men, And any one of those, and nowadays, T, any of my former players that reach out to me and I see how successful they are, man, it makes me feel like a proud papa, because I know that I touched them maybe in some form of fashion that was a positive influence to them. And that, again, is priceless. And it allows me, again, to live vicariously through them, And it's part of my motivation now, to be honest with you, to keep pushing forward and to keep trying to help these young men, just like you're doing down in Australia. It's a beautiful thing.
Brian, thank you. And, at the core of what we do at Charity Bounce is I always tell people that when they ask me, what do you do for a living? I tell them I build people. That's my elevator spiel. I say, and I say that answer because it begets another question from them. They say, now, how do you do that? Now, then that's when I get to take the next 30 minutes and be able to tell them, I said, I use the game of basketball as my hammer or my screwdriver. It's a tool. The game captures their attention, and then you're able to pour into them so many things that, that's going to help them to, you know, because I always tell guys and girls that I train, I said, listen, the natural progression of things is that you got to be better than me. You got to go further than me. You got to do more than me. Not just as a basketball player, but as a person. You got to have a higher character level. You got to have all of that. And that's what I'm thinking about when I'm out here with you every second of the day. At Bounce, our big thing, Brian, is resilience. Just, you know, now we live in this bullying age where we always had it, but the response to the bullying is different. It's more critical. It's more devastating.
Yeah.
We're seeing kids out here just taking their own life in a way we probably, me and you growing up, we never saw it like that. I mean, so we really, really want to teach kids to, you know, through the game, because the game presents a lot of tough situations and a lot of tough things. So in the midst of that, we want to take that game, not only teach them how to manage that situation, but how to thrive in that situation and to have some hope. I tell people all the time, I grew up in a family where we had our fair share of dope dealers. I said, now I done flipped that thing. I'm a hope dealer. I'm slinging hope in these streets.
Right.
I'm slinging hope, but I'm using basketball to do it.
That's
So
right.
can you give us, to kind of close out this thing, could you give us your idea of resiliency? Because, you know, a lot of these kids want to know, how do I stay strong as trying to be a basketball player? How do I stay strong as just being a young person growing up in the world that we living in right now? Could you kind of give us what maybe a technique or things that you do, or your thoughts on that to have to close this out?
Yep, absolutely, T. I'll go back to our basketball platform. You know, obviously I'm a coach now, but listen, you know, the greatest basketball player in the world, Michael Jordan, had to suffer getting cut from his high school team.
Yeah.
And that right there is a classic example of resiliency.
Yeah.
We all will fail at something at some point in our lives if we live long enough. And if you're trying to do something, you're going to fail. And for me, T, I'm not afraid to fail. That's number one with me. I've failed countless times, but I always feel like I would feel worse if I tried and failed. I would feel worse if I didn't try than if I tried and failed, because I would always be wondering what would have happened if I would have done it, if I would have tried. Because I hear that a lot now from friends of mine now who wish they would have done something differently, wish they would have tried something differently, whatever. So I've always been one that, man, if I fail, so what? I get back up and try something else, or I come back harder or better because of it. And that was my mentality. And I hope that a lot of kids start doing the same thing as well. You know, if they fail, don't give up. Keep going, keep pushing forward, keep learning from that. Make that your lemon instead of your lemonade, your lemonade instead of your lemon. Pray about it. Don't be afraid to be open and honest about it. You know, if you don't know something, ask somebody that does. Tracy, you pointed out something early in the pre-meeting where, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, T, but I try to surround myself with smart people.
There you go.
Just like you do. And I've always said that I'm never the smartest guy, but I do try to surround myself with smart people. And I saw this documentary a few years ago about Maurice Clarett, the former Ohio State football player. He said, man, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Woo.
And I thought about that and I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna surround myself with good people, successful people, so that maybe I'll be successful, you know, because it could go the other way. If you surround yourself with bad people, you can go that route as well. So I would say to any young person out there, young male or female, that when you fail, don't worry about it, get back up, come back and be stronger, because everybody that you know, celebrity-wise, parents-wise, whoever, has failed at something in their lives. But we all had to get back up and learn from it and come back and be stronger from it. And if you do that, you will be successful. You will be successful because we all will have setbacks of some sort. And that's just part of life. If you live long enough, you're going to suffer those setbacks. So just keep pushing forward. Feel free to talk to other people to get help if you need that. It's okay to ask for help. That's something that enough young people don't do these days. And don't get caught up in so much in social media either, because social media can be deceiving. Everybody's social media page looks like they're having fun and having success all the time, but that's not reality. That's not the real world. So I would say, just keep pushing forward, stay focused on your goals, and your dreams can come true.
Man, baby. Look, dude, thank you, man. You just loaded us up.
Let me end with this, T. I just want to say this about you, my brother. I'm proud of you, what you're doing down there in Australia. For you to make the move from the United States in North Carolina to go down under, that's tremendous. So many people are afraid to do things like that in life. And I don't understand why they live that way, but they do. So I commend you for doing what you're doing. Continued success down under, man. Grant and Kayla, tell them thank you for the podcast that you guys are launching now. I think it's going to be successful, and anything I can do in the future for any of you guys, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Well, thank you, man. Peace and blessings. Man, my love for you, dude, and do it forever.
That's my brother.
You've helped me so much in my career, in my life, man. And you've always been somebody I could reach out to, and always. You always been there. You ain't one of them fair weather dudes.
Same here.
Yes. So in my toughest times, man, when I got fired as a coach, man, you were the guy that made, I was down, man. I gave everything I had.
Yeah.
And I thought I gave enough. And for whatever reason, they didn't think that I gave enough. And you helped me not only to make it make sense, but you gave me some things that I could grow on. And that I could go on, not just go on, but just grow on. And that's why, I couldn't have picked a better person to start this podcast with. I mean, we're going to do it for at least 100 years. And when people go and put it in a time capsule for the next 1,000 years, and I want, when they say episode 1, I want them to see you up there giving it to them. And because I guarantee you, the information that you just given us, the advice you just given us is timeless. It has no shelf life on it. It'll go on and on. Before I go, I want to, I didn't ask you this before, but if there's any way that if some of these kids that's listening, if they could contact you or email that something, is it all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I'm always telling them, this guy could be your future employer. This could be this guy that I'm interviewing could be somebody that if you going somewhere else, they're going to call him and say, hey, do you know anything about this kid? This kid mentioned your name and that you had been mentoring him or showing him some stuff. Because I always tell them, it ain't about who you know, it's who know you. So I said, everybody that I'm expose y'all to are somebody that's highly respected in the game and as well as in life. And again, is it if you want to give it out or we can do it, how can they reach you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, Tracy, now at Rowsom Basketball Camp. That's ROWSOM Basketball Camp. And I'm also on Facebook, Brian Rowsom, BRIAN ROWSOM. And of course, they can get my email address from you if they want. They can Google me and see my website if they want. So any way they want to reach out, I'll feel free to do so. I get people reaching out to me all the time with different things. So I don't mind helping anyone, T, because somebody helped me. Somebody helped you. And I don't mind paying it forward to help others. Simple as that.
But man, thank you, man. Thank you again. Like I said, not only some of our players, but I guarantee you, some of our coaches are going to be reaching out with you. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Brian Rowsom, highly successful high school player, highly successful college basketball player, highly successful NBA player, highly successful coach. But most importantly to me, in the game of life, man, you one of the superstars for me. You one of the guys that I can look at and I pattern myself even now that based on what the model that you showed me. So I just want to thank you again. Hey, folks out there, thank y'all for tuning in with us. Keep listening to this over and over and over again. The words Brian is saying, you need to listen to it over and over again. So put this podcast on on Rewind and keep doing it over and over again. And again, this has been our inaugural show for our Bounce TV podcast. This is Tracy Williams, no, Ike Williams, baby boy, here with you. And stay tuned, keep it locked. Again, Brian, thank you so much. And peace and blessings, and God bless.
God bless you, T. Love you, bro.
All right, take care. Love you too, man.
All right.